Hey, everybody. We are going live with our Transformation Tuesday. These are about our salvation experiences and what the Lord has done for us. We are going to be going live with Brother Aaron Blakeman. I've known him since he was a little boy. There's his wife, Melissa. Now, as we're doing, there he is. There's Aaron. Before I add him in, because sometimes we have an echo, I want to say that you can find every Transformation Tuesday at hashtag capital T 2019 on Facebook, and you can also find them under Transformation Tuesday, Judy Cardoza in YouTube. So we're going to invite Aaron on here now, and he's going to tell of his salvation experience and what the Lord has done in his life. Let's add Brother Aaron. Add. It says we're adding you, Brother Aaron. He is the youth pastor at his church at Cross Keys. It says connecting.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you great.
I can hear you great.
There's
Well,
just
hello,
a little
everybody.
bit of lag
Just a little bit of lag
on my end.
Okay.
on my end.
Oh, all right.
So I'm going to let you
So
start
I'm
wherever
going
you
to
want
let
to
you start wherever you want to
and
start.
you just do all the
And
talking,
you
and I'm
just
going to
do all
shake
the
my
talking,
head.
and I'm going to shake my head.
Okay. Tell me if the wind gets to a place that you can hear it too much, because the wind is blowing around here just a little bit.
Okay, I'll let you know.
Okay, I'll let you know.
All right. So let's see. Well, I guess it starts. I've been in the pastor's house all my life. I grew up. My dad is the pastor of our church, and all my life, that's all I've known is church, youth camp, revivals, camp meeting. We was in church everywhere we could go. And later on in life, just like everybody else, we good?
Yes, I had to take my
Yes, I had to take my
Okay. Okay, I was hearing a lot of ruffling, so I was making sure.
Yeah, I took my earbuds off. That's why.
Okay. Well, as I got older, I'd still be in church, and I guess the best way to put it, you've read the Bible every once in a while, you've prayed every once in a while. It really wasn't that deep, committed thing. And when I was 13, I went to a friend's house and spent the night. And for the first time ever in my life, I seen pornography that night. And from that moment on, there was something that stirred on the inside of me. This flesh had a lust and a desire for that more than I could explain. It just, every time I got an opportunity, that's what I wanted to see. I knew who my friends was that had it on their phones and whatever. I knew how to get it if I wanted it at that moment. And, I wrestled with it and wrestled with it. I knew it was wrong, but then there was still that part of this flesh that said, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of an issue. Don't worry about it. And I would get myself into a spot and then I'd leave and I'd be like, oh, why did I do that? Why do I keep doing this to myself? And when I was 16, we took the youth group on a trip to a youth conference. And that night, that man preached, the speaker that night preached on Adam losing his relationship with God in the beginning. And he had a plank fence that he had set up that morning. He said, that was literally how it was for Adam. Whenever he wanted to talk to God again, there's a plank fence that was only so far he could get. It was just so close he could get because that sin had a divide in the way. And I listened and my heart's pounding, God talking to me. And then all of a sudden he said, but Jesus came by and he tore down the picket fence. And he just threw it out of the way. And when service was over, God started dealing with my heart. And I said, God, I've really not had a real relationship with you. I've gone to church. I've been at youth camps. I've been in all these different places. I know you've touched my life before, but I've not really ever had a genuine walk with you. And I went and prayed. I said, God, I want some reality to this. I said, I know you're real. I want a reality and I want a real walk with you. And from that moment on, I didn't realize what all God was going to do. And, from there on, I started a relationship with him. And there was things he would deal with me with. And sometimes it was, I could drop it like that. And there was other things you had to fight a little bit with. And I struggled with certain things, and I kept dealing with those things and fighting them and praying, saying, God, I need some help with this. I can't do this on my own. And it was that was in March. October, I went into a storm that I'd never been into in my life. I couldn't explain how all it happened exactly, but we left youth group that night, and I came home, and I sat down to read my Bible. And I read, that's just flipping through. I really didn't have anywhere I was wanting to go. I was just wanting to read because I needed to read that night. And I hit the text where the Bible talks about that if you blaspheme the Holy Ghost, there's no forgiveness. And that instant, the enemy started talking to my mind, said, that's what you've done, that's who you are, and I'm sitting there confused. And this is the first time anybody's ever known the whole story. The only person that knows this is Pastor George. So I decided today I'd bring it out while we're at it, because I know there has been different people that have dealt with something like this. And I sat there and I didn't know what was going on. I just sat there and I said, God, I don't even know what this means. How have I even done this? I don't even know what it means, but it just tormented me and it just brought a fear on me. It was in such a place I couldn't function, I couldn't think. And that night I went upstairs and I woke up Dad at like 1 in the morning. He was probably ready to kill me. But I told him, I said, what does this mean? And he explained it, and he said, why? I said, because while I was reading something, he told me I did it, and I didn't even know what it meant. He said, well, how could you do something you don't even know what it means or what it is to do it? That's a valid point. But after that, for almost two weeks straight, I know a week straight completely, my mind was so tormented on just that thought. And it wasn't even just at that point that I'd done it. It was just, almost like, how do I put it? Like you see like a scenario of you having a car wreck or something in your mind.
Yes.
I almost had that just constantly going through my mind. I'll be sitting in school, and when it would hit me, I couldn't function. I couldn't think. It was just me trying to not have a meltdown right in the middle of everybody. So I would say I don't feel good. And I'd leave, and I really didn't feel good, because at that moment I couldn't think straight. It just seemed like everything was a fog, and, people was talking with me, but I just couldn't focus with them because it was all that was on my mind at that moment. I was just tormented by it. I'd go home, I'd lay on the couch all day and just try to sleep. I would eat some, but then there's times I couldn't eat because it just bothered me so much. And that went on for a week that I literally missed school for that reason. I went to work in the morning because at that time I was a bus monitor. I'd show up at work, and by the time I got done off of the bus that morning for it's time to go into school, I'd sit there, I just can't go. I don't feel good. This is bothering me still. And that went on for a week, and I went back to school the week after, and I got to a place I could focus on something else. During this time when this went on, like I said, the only person that knew was Dad. And, my youth pastor probably didn't know what to do with me, Judy, because literally there was one Sunday right in the middle of singing, praise, and worship, God's moving on people. Then that thing starts hitting my mind again. And I laid over him, and I just cried, and he didn't know what to think about me. He's just like, what's wrong with him? Well, what's going on? And that Sunday night, the lady who was supposed to speak, I went to pick him up at the hotel to bring him to church, and she said, Aaron, I can't make sense of it, son. I said, what's that? She said, I went to sleep. I had a message on my heart. She said, but I woke up and it's gone. I said, oh. She said, so we're just going to flow by the Spirit tonight. I said, all right. I said, whatever you do, you do. And we got there that night, and all she did was testify how God had moved in different situations over and over and over. And the whole time she's doing that, it's just like your faith level's just going up an increment at a time. And when she got finished, she said, now, if there's anybody in here that needs prayer for anything, we're here to pray. We're going to pray with you. God's going to move. And she prayed with probably 6 different people before me. And, the Spirit of God was moving, and the gift of wisdom and interpretation of tongues was in operation. And she's giving words of knowledge left and right to people. And I sat there that night, and I said, God, if nothing else, you have to tell me either I'm going to live or I'm going to die, because at this point I really don't care. I said, I've had all I can handle of it, and didn't know what else to do with it, and didn't know what was going on. And, when you have a voice that tells you this is the end of your road, you just sit there like, what do I do, God? I know what your word says, but something keeps telling me this is all you got. So I said there, I said, God, you got to tell me something. I don't care what. However you have to do it, you have to say something to me. I said, you need to say it's over and I'll just drop dead or something. I mean, however you got to work it. And I walked up, I said, I need prayer. And they began to pray for me. And like I said, the gift of tongues and interpretation came. And she said, Aaron, God says if you'll lift him up, he'll draw young people. And I sat there, I just wept because everything I was so worried about just fell off. Because it didn't matter at that point. Because God said, no, it's not over yet. So I knew at that moment there's something more to this than what I see. And it went on for a couple months after that still, that torment. But there was one night it tried again. And I got my Bible out, and I keep this one with me in a box anymore because it's about to fall apart, and I don't want nothing to happen to it. It's a landmark to me. And I said, God, you have to say something to me. I don't care what it is, but if you don't, I have to have something to make it through the night. And I went to Psalms 46:1. This is why I preach it so much. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. And I read that probably 50 times until I woke up 3 o'clock in the morning and I had fell asleep in it. And this Bible, I can literally bend it a certain way and it'll fall to that page from now on. But, you know, and I didn't realize what God was doing, but it was probably maybe a month after that God was orchestrating things. It wasn't like something went wrong, but my youth pastor at that time was feeling called in a different direction. And at that point, when he told me that, I said, God, what are you doing here? I said, I feel like there, you know, I can't say the bottom of the barrel fell out. There's not a barrel left. I said, what are you doing? And he left, and we went into youth ministry, me and 2 other people, and we started working in the church with the young people. And the first thing I preached on, I offended somebody. And I heard about it like 3 or 4 days later. I said, God help me. What am I going to do? I said, I'm preaching on unity and I offend somebody. What am I doing here? I mean, you know, it'd be different if I was preaching on something real sinful. But I said, you know, this is a moment we need to unify together because, you know, there's a transition going on. We need to group in and stick in together. And that Sunday, the next Sunday, I told the rest of them, I said, well, I'm sorry for what I said that offended you. And they all looked at me like I was an idiot. I said, what are you talking about? It was only one person that was mad about it, and that's because he really didn't want to be part of what we were doing. Right. But either way, that's neither here nor there. And, you know, while I was in the midst of that, didn't know what was going on, I didn't realize the other 2 young people I was with, what was going on with them. And they started telling me what was going on. And I sat there and I just told them, I said, listen, I said, I don't know. I said, but if God can bring me through this, he's going to bring all of us out of this, and this is going to go well. So we had youth service for a couple months, and I was seeking God. I said, I need the Holy Ghost. I said, you know, our organization, we believe that you're going to be in ministry. You need the Holy Ghost. God, I want this. This is promised to me, and I was seeking for it, and I'd seek him for it. Every service I went to, I'm seeking, God, I want this, I want this, I want this. I need more of you. I want more of your spirit. And we, in that same youth service, the next year, we went to it again, and the man got done preaching that night, and he said, if there's anybody in here that needs to give their life to Christ, you're not saved, I want you to raise your hand. And there was like 4 of my kids in the youth group that raised their hands, Judy. And I'm just like, oh, God. And I leaned over to lay hands on them and to pray with them. And that instant, you ever seen the coaches at the NFL when they win the game and they bring the Gatorade jug and pour it over top of them? That's literally how it hit me. It went from, I mean, just all over me in an instant. It's just how I explained it, because it just wasn't like, you know, I was still sitting there praying for it. It was, I went to pray for them and pow, it hit me. And from that moment on, God, and this is nothing about me, and I hope nobody thinks that. Even if I say this is what I did, it was all me explaining how God did something, because That's all I can explain it as, basically. And from that moment on, God started doing things through me, and in our youth group. Uh, I think I got the Holy Ghost that night, and another one did. And after that, the youth group started ramping up. We had youth rallies every month, and God started doing powerful things in lives. And there was something inside of me that got so stirred from that experience that said, I want everybody I know to have this. And in June, we had youth camp, and I started praying with all of our young people. And if I remember correctly, I know two of our young people that on Friday night at youth camp got filled, and I don't know how many others that year from other youth groups. That was just, I know two of my own. And after that, we had youth services after that, and all we wanted was God to have his way. And I remember you came when Ava came to preach a youth service one night, and it was real funny how this went on. You got to singing, and one of the young people one of our youth leaders told me, she said, "Brother, I'm not going to be able to make it. I have to work." And all of a sudden she shows up. And God started talking to my heart, and I just leaned over and I said, I don't know how to say it. I don't know if I want to turn around and say, God told me to pray for you or what. So I just went, touch. And all of a sudden God just hit her, and it's just got moving on her. I'm just like, okay. And then from there, the whole service blew up. God was touching every young person that night, changing things, moving in their lives powerfully, and all this stuff. And it's just like, wow, just it's just amazing to see what God's doing. But then again, later on, I still had to deal with Aaron. I still had to deal with my flesh man, and there came a point that I got in a low spot, and that pornography tried to get on me again. And I had to deal with that for a little while and fight it and struggle it. Because it came at a point when I sat there and I was just so beat up because I didn't, things just didn't seem like they was going right. And all of a sudden it's just, just like normal, when you feel like you hit low enough, all of a sudden there comes that baseball bat out of nowhere to your face that, pop, you hit with something new. And I had to deal with that for a little while. And I prayed and I said, God, you had to get me out of this. I said, this thing is coming back on me. I can't do anything about it. I couldn't deal with it before. I can't do nothing about it now. And I'd pray, and I would pray, and I'd pray. And there took some time of fasting, too, to get this thing loose. And after one time God actually really dealt with me, and I mean really touched me, I haven't had to deal with it like that. Yes, there are moments it sits there and tries knocking on the door, but the door is deadbolted, it's got a chain, it's got, brink security on it, you know what I mean. The door's still locked, it's not coming open again. I'm not wanting it open again. And God's done so much in that area. And there's other things too. I was thinking about it, what I could talk about. There was another time, it was here recently, probably about 2 years ago or more, and at this point I'm just telling testimony and stories. If this is not what it's supposed to be, I don't know. It's all I'm supposed to do. But I hit a spot where it just seemed I was in a dry season. And I couldn't make sense of it personally because it was only dry for me, if that makes any sense. Because I still had to minister. I still prayed with people. And God was just like radically hitting them. And I'm just like, it's Lord, where are you at? I mean, I'm seeing people getting their lives rocked. And I'm just like, what's going on? And it was during that time I learned that, it's not on your feelings. Because it's on trusting and feelings lie. Because, I was used to when I felt the Spirit of God, then I knew to do something. But it was going to a place of just knowing when God said do it, just do it. Because I went to a youth meeting at Spencer County High School. I didn't know what I was doing that night. I just felt like I needed to go. They were having something for FCA. And I just felt like I needed to go there. And I thought, God, how am I going to pray for these kids? Nobody knows me from anywhere. What am I going to do showing up people? And I got there, and first thing I know, I had, I dressed like I was if I was going to church. I didn't dress like I am right now. and had my Bible with me like I was going to church. And one of them asked me, said, "Are you a minister or something?" I said, "Well, I'm youth pastor here, and I work with FCA at Shelby County." He said, "Well, do you want to be one of our altar workers to work with the kids?" And I thought, like, this is what I was waiting for somebody to say. And, still in that time period of when I was in that dry season, I was fasting and seeking God, because I said, "God, I need me some rain." But again, like I said, in that time, God was teaching me how to function even when I didn't feel it. Exactly. Just knowing by what He said to do was all it was necessary.
Doing what
And
Doing what you ought to do
instead of what you want to.
instead of what you want to do.
exactly. So I was there that night, didn't know what I was getting into. And, Judy, we're Pentecostal people. We're used to, the unction when you preach. And I went somewhere and I watched the guy that he literally did everything from memory. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, and he did good still. It was still the gospel, one way or the other. But part of me is like, man, I hope somebody's getting something out of it. And, but when that was over and they asked us to come down and pray with everybody, I was standing there waiting on because they want us basically to wait to talk to somebody. They said, "Now what we want you to do when you pray for them, to ask them who they are, why they feel like they need to pray, and if they want to pray." And I had a young man that I had no idea who he was, never met him before in my life, walked down. I said, "Hey, buddy, what's your name?" And he started talking to me. I said, "What's going on? Is there a reason you feel like you need to pray?" He said, "Well," he said, "I've been wrestling with suicidal thoughts for 3 years now." Oh, Lord. Hey, something else I forgot. When I talked about, getting in that tormented spot, there was a point I thought dying was easier. But I said to myself, something said, "Well, you could just kill yourself." And I said, "Well, I can't do that. I'd rather drop dead than kill myself because I'll just go to hell." That's just what we've taught. And he told me that. I said, "Well, do you want to pray?" He said, "Yeah," and I prayed for him. And, I didn't do the dignified, "Oh, God, I pray you touch him." I said, "In the name of Jesus, you loose him, you foul spirit of suicide that's tormenting his mind. I bind you. You're going to loose him tonight. You're not going to bother him like this." And we prayed, and he acted like it was all right. And about that time, he wanted me to pray again, so we did again. And I prayed, and I said, "No," I said, "I bind you. You have to let go of him in Jesus' name." And, it seemed like we was good for a moment. And the third time, that kid grabbed onto me, and just the best way I can put it, a charge of the Spirit just went zip right into him, because this kid don't know nothing about the Pentecostal movement. All of a sudden, I watch his knees jerk, and he just do this like his whole body didn't know what to say. I said, "Oh, Lord, son, that's it." And I just prayed, and I was like, "It's just easy what you're dealing with. God is going to do something." And I kept in contact with him. But, it was in that time I learned that, I just have to know what he said do, whether I feel it or not. And I still had this dry season going on. And I was praying one day at church during altar call. And just about everybody was done praying. I was still praying there. And that same voice that tormented me showed up and said, "Nobody cares. If anybody cared, they'd be praying for you right now. God's not going to change this anymore. Your struggle has just literally messed up your opportunity for you ever having another chance to feel in His presence. This is as good as it's going to get." And I just laid over that pew and just wept. I said, "God, what's going on?" And there was a reason that talked to me, Judy, just like the first time he talked to me. It all dealt with God was going to do something that I just didn't see coming. And that was 2 months earlier, and we took our youth group to the same youth service. That Friday night, God's moving, touching young people's lives, and I'm still in that spot. I'm like, "God, I need you to do something." Saturday morning, something different happened. And they changed the speaker. Same guy preached the night before, preached that morning. And he tore it up. And God anointed him special for that morning. I guess is the best way I can put it. And it's time to pray. And just like the time before, it's just like that fresh bucket fell on me. And I mean, I still felt the rain in between them. It's just like there's a fresh newness hit me all of a sudden, and a fresh infilling of the Spirit, I guess is the best way to put it. And we went to praying with the young people, and God was just touching them powerfully. And God spoke to me, and I just looked to the crowd, and I seen a young man that I hadn't seen in a while, and God told me to go pray with them. And I went over there to pray with them, and I hadn't hardly touched him, and he hit the floor. And his other friend said, "Hey, Aaron," I lay hands on him, and he hits the floor. I pray for the other one, he hits the floor. And this boy behind me went, hey, you, and said, pray for me. So I prayed with him. And, the whole reason why that went on, that torment of my mind, because if I had listened to that voice, God couldn't have used me like he did to touch those kids at that moment.
Amen.
Amen. If I had listened to that for just a minute, I couldn't have got that touch I needed, and God couldn't have used me, because all I am is just a vessel. There's nothing I can do special. I can, be in the flesh, and nothing's going to happen. But when God does something, tells me to do it, things are happening. It's not Aaron. It's just obedience to him doing what I said do. He does the work. And, God touched the young people's lives in such an awesome way. And it was just like, I'm praying with them. I'm just sitting there and just like, what in the world is going on here? Because I never prayed with people that much, and it's just that, in such a, I don't know how to put it, in such a moment that they get hit like that, and I'm just like, whoa. Just like, wow. But, in the middle of all those times, not even just in ministry, God's helped me through a lot of different things that I couldn't make sense of. Well, you had mentioned earlier having Melissa do one, hopefully for you eventually.
The quality of this video is worse. I can hardly hear you.
You can't hardly hear me at all?
Yes, I heard you then, but it's getting worse. It's getting worse.
Okay, well, I'll scoot up a little. But you had mentioned getting Melissa to do one for you in the future, right, maybe? Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure she's one of the people that's watching it, so now she's stuck since I said it. She'll eventually have to do it. I'm just picking. But, there came another point when I was, ready to have a wife, and I stood there and said, God, I don't know where this is going to come from. I said, but I'm not playing the field. I said, I've watched enough of our people I know get burnt off of that, and I'm not interested in doing that. Mm-hmm. I said, you're just going to have to work it out. And Melissa came to youth camp that same year, and I never met her before at all, didn't know who she was. And Thursday morning, she got saved, and while they're all praying with her, I'm at the piano doing altar call, and all of a sudden, she caught my attention. I'm just like, for just a split second, I was a little distracted, even while I was playing music. I said, I need to talk to her. And I didn't realize how God was going to orchestrate everything, that eventually that's going to be who I get to marry. So, and God works in such mysterious ways. I don't ever know how he's going to do things. I mean, in ministry in general, I know there's some people maybe watching, you got financial issues. You'd be amazed at the different times God just brought something out I never would have thought. Somehow they'll call me in to go do work. There's one time I preached for a church service that there was 4 of us in there that night. And God blessed me with what I needed exactly. So, I mean, you never know how God's going to move in situations.
Right.
And let's see. What else can I think about that? Oh, some open doors here lately. The last 2 years, God's opened the door for me to do the morning services at youth camp at our church. And I don't take that lightly. When I was first asked, I was like, oh, God. Because, I know who preached during youth camp before me, and it's some big shoes to fill. I said, God, what do you want me to say to these kids? There's other people that can do this way better than me. What do you want me to tell them? And there's just different doors God's open, speaking to that. And this year, another time, I was in a spot that, again, like I said, one of the low moments where you really don't know what's going on. And Dad told me he wanted to do the morning services again. And part of me said, of all people, why did you ask me? Because, a lot of people don't believe that people in ministry have issues too. They seem to think I float on a cloud, that everything's just lovely, and that's not the fact of it. There's times I go through problems like everybody else. And it seems, oh yeah. And there's those moments that happens when you have to minister and you're like, why me, Lord? Because, you sit there and you look at your own insufficiencies and your own inadequacies of doing anything. You look at yourself more than you look at who qualifies you.
Amen.
Because I'll just look at yourself and say, why, God, did you have Dad ask me? I said, because I can't do anything. I said, look at me. I'm in the middle of this going on right now. Why did you get him to ask me to speak again? Why didn't you tell him somebody else but me? But, God knew everything I didn't. And God's touched lives, and again, nothing of myself. And lately, God's opened a door that I can't explain all the details of, but it has blown my mind. I get to work with young people in 3 different settings now.
Wow.
In the youth ministry, in one of the things I do for clinicals at school, and then in another area that God's opened, I get to talk with all these young people, and the best part, they're stuck with me, Judy. They can't run if they wanted to. They're stuck with me. And, I get to talk to them on an everyday basis, and it's blown my mind. I get to tell them stuff, and I've been talking with one kid here recently about something he's telling me, and I'm like, that don't make sense. Why are you doing this? He said, well, I'm trying to do this because, I'm trying to figure out, I want to get free from this world that I'm in. I said, okay. He said, but what voice is telling you need to do this? He said, I don't know. And all I can think of is Paul when he talked about this, he went on Mars Hill and they was worshiping this. They made this little spot and they called it the unknown God. And I'm like, well, buddy, I know who he is. I said, and I was talking to him the other day about, it's Jesus is what you need.
Amen. Yes.
Amen. Yes.
Any other questions you got for me, Judy?
No, I just want to make sure everybody knows that PK kids have problems too.
Oh, yeah.
And through every bit of that, you never stopped.
Oh, yeah.
You kept pressing forward, and that's what it's all about. No matter what we go through, we keep pressing forward. The only difference between a Christian and a sinner is a sinner gives up.
True.
We have to keep
and
pressing
forward.
Say it one more time.
I said the sinner doesn't have the help we have either.
That's right.
You know what? At the end of the day, I have Jesus with me.
Amen.
When they're lost and they denied him, they don't have him to help. They don't have that option of getting out.
That's right.
Well,
That's right. I thank you, brother. I don't know why. Sometimes Facebook doesn't like what we're doing, and things get messed up. Like the quality of the sound. I believe with all my heart, to minister to people, especially those that are in ministry, because we do have problems. We do face things, like everybody else. We automatically have a back. And I thank you for sharing. I thank you for expressing the tender moments in your life that somebody else can be saved. Amen. Like and share. Share this video. We want to reach everybody for the Lord Jesus Christ.
Amen.
God bless you, brother. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to Melissa.
All right. Bye, Judy. We'll see you.
Thank you.